The Community Foundation of Northeast Iowa is honored to serve as sponsor of the Courier's 20 Under 40 program. We're inspired by this year's group of recipients whose accomplishments lift up the best traits of our community and show what it means to be a leader for good. Thank you to all the recipients for sharing your gifts with the Cedar Valley, and congratulations on this honor. We look forward to seeing what's in store for our community with you helping to lead the way.
Talk about, I saw in one of the testimonials, it was an enterprise that you put together to help elderly folks with their finances, their balance, their checkbook and stuff.
Yes.
Something like that.
That is Triumphant Inc. The idea came from my work in the legal field. We handled guardianship and conservatorships for individuals through the court system, essentially where another individual will step in to kind of handle someone's daily needs as well as their finances. And I noticed that we were having elderly individuals come to us wanting to help their elderly family members and having a bit of an issue with competency moving forward. And a lot of people I have come across don't have family members or friends to step into those roles to help them with their finances and to help them with their daily needs or their healthcare needs.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things where Brooke and I were talking about it, and she said, somebody should do this. And we kind of both looked at each other and like, well, maybe that somebody is us. I think it really gives me a sense of being able to help someone. The legal side, we're obviously doing the paperwork and we're jumping through the hoops that the court is requiring. But with Triumphant, we're able to create a relationship with that individual, kind of learn about their past, learn about their family if they have any, and you kind of get connected. So my motivation is that these individuals don't have anyone, and if we weren't there, there probably would not be anyone who would be looking out for them. In every role that I am dealing with whether it's sports or Triumphant or the Humane Society, the community is so important to all of those aspects that that's the thread that kind of binds them all together. I feel like it's something that is really helping our area and improving life for not only children, adults, but also our pets.
I've been working at UNI since 2017, and in that role I serve as the Federal Relations Director for the university and advocate for our students, for our economic development programs, and many of the research projects that our faculty do to contribute to economic development and a rich quality of life across the state. I lead our outreach efforts with both chambers of Congress, including Iowa's delegation, but also we've been very happy to build a broader coalition and engage leaders from the committees that oversee our policy priorities, as well as develop relationships with the federal agencies that administer grant programs and regulate the work of the university at the federal level. It's been a privilege to work alongside Grow Cedar Valley's Economic Inclusion Network to roll up our sleeves and serve the campus in President Nook's vision, the senior leadership team's vision, the faculty and staff and student-led vision that we all share at removing educational debts, we'll call them, for minoritized populations, and approaching them with courage and resilience. A couple of those examples right now are, I serve on a public health systems task team where we're developing a strategic plan at improving the healthy behaviors and outcomes of every member of our community and figuring out what are the policies, practices, and programs we need to address the debts that we owe our minoritized populations for generations of inequality and inequity. On campus at UNI, we are taking a proactive look at what are the systemic issues that even well-intentioned allies of social justice are unable to overcome unless the undercurrent of our work changes. And creating programs that also speak to the needs that our minoritized students, faculty, and staff have told us. They are there. We believe them. And it's time to act. And so instead of pretending like this issue doesn't exist, it's another example of why I am proud to live in this community, that we handle our problems head on.
My name is Danielle Rang. I'm from Cedar Falls, originally from Delhi, Iowa. I'm 29 years old and been a trainer since I graduated from UNI. I double majored in marketing and real estate, and clearly that wasn't the path I wanted to take. I was a trainer during college. So after I graduated, I realized that was more of my passion. I worked at Next Level Extreme Fitness in the community for probably 8 years, and within the past year, my husband and I opened the Orange Theory Fitness in Cedar Falls. So I'm the head coach there as well. I got to a point where I was ready for something more. My husband, of course, supported me, luckily for me, and I was annoying him enough. So he was able to, he traveled a lot for work. And Orange Theory is a corporate, and they have, we have 1,200 studios around the world. So I got to a point of, I was done being jealous of him being able to take class and not me. So we figured, why not bring it here? We took class in Cedar Rapids. They have had the closest Orange Theory, and then I fell in love. So the idea of a corporate backing us, and the brand name is so strong, so I figured, why not take the plunge?
What is it about maybe fitness or coaching that really attracted you to that?
Yeah, I guess it just really started the connection you get to have with the community is awesome. You get to be a part of people's fitness journey and their healthy lifestyle. Like for instance, Jesus, like you see people, Cedar Falls is a great community. It's not small, but it's small enough where you get to interact with so many different people of all different ages. So that was a huge perk for me. You know, when I went to college, I was double majoring in marketing and real estate. During that time, I was taking a program in the Cedar Valley, Next Level Extreme Fitness, and I was offered a training position there. So that kind of what sparked, I figured as a college kid, why not? I get my session paid for free, get to take class. So I started as a kickboxing instructor. And then from there, I just realized that there was more to it that I found my passion in. So that's kind of where I learned and ventured into the exercise science part of the world.
My name is Jesus Lizarraga Estrada, and I work at the University of Northern Iowa, and I serve as the Associate Director of Freshman Recruitment and Access. So my job encompasses working with all incoming freshmen, so I oversee freshman recruitment and in our campus visit programs. So a little bit about myself. So I'm a UNI alum, so I graduated with my bachelor's degree in management from there, and then my master's in higher ed. I'm currently going back to school for my doctorate program at UNI as well. I started working right after graduating at UNI as their multicultural recruiter, and I was in that position for 3 years. Then I had the opportunity to work at Iowa State, where I served as their assistant director of freshman admissions and diversity recruitment. And after being there for 3 years, an opportunity opened up to come back to UNI, so I did last year. I come from a single parent household, low socioeconomic status. My mom was only making $20,000 a year, so to me, college was not like a reality. I knew that I needed to go to college. My mom put that in me, you know, like you need to go somewhere, but we never talked about how to get there. So being able to not work in higher ed is my opportunity, I feel, and my obligation to give back. I always envisioned myself working in corporate world. I think because being the first in my family to go to college, coming from a low income background, in my mind was, how do I make the most money and provide to my family? But during my last year at UNI, I was given the opportunity to apply for this job in admissions. And I actually only saw it as a 1-year job. And then I'm like, I'm gonna leave, go somewhere else, make more money. But as I was working with students who shared the similar stories that I did, you know, we're single parent households, low income, students of color, first generation students. I started noticing a lot of inequities in higher education that the system many times is not built for us. So I felt like, how can I break down some of these barriers for students? You know, if I had to go up the stairs and climb up, how do I just make them take the elevator? Like, just bring down the elevator for them and elevate them, and just, I don't know, to me, my philosophy is always to give back, so pay it forward for those after me, those to come.
I've owned the Finishing Touch for over a year now. Our 1 year was March 14th, and then we went on quarantine.
So that was, I'm sure, a difficult time for you.
It was. I feel like I was more stressed out about like my barbers being okay. You know what I mean? It wasn't more about the shop, because I knew the shop would survive. But yeah, I was definitely worried about my barbers.
Why did you decide to choose that as a career?
Well, I was always picky about my haircuts and like the style and how I always wanted it. And then I started watching YouTube videos, and I started cutting my oldest son's hair. He's 10, so that would have been back when he was like 4, 3 or 4 years old. And I kind of started getting pretty good at it. And I was in business school at the time, and I ended up just saying forget that, and I went straight to barber school a month later. And I never looked back. But I was always infatuated with like people's hairstyles and stuff like that. Like, I just love helping people out. So it was more for me creating job opportunities for other barbers. And I mean, obviously being an owner, you make more money and stuff like that. But for me, it really was never really about that. All my barbers that I have 12 barbers now. They're all out of school. So I gave them all opportunities, careers. So for me, that's better than any type of money right there, setting people up, for their future. So that's the main reason why I got it, why I wanted to open up my own shop so bad. And I just enjoy watching these barbers evolve, because, when I started school, I sucked. I never had, I just wasn't that good. And I thought I was, and then I started seeing I started following people on Instagram and started seeing these immaculate haircuts. I'm like, oh wow, I got a lot of work to do. So if I can give some, some free game to, some of the younger generations that are coming up, then, I'm more than willing to do that.
I'm a member of the Blackhawk County Extension Council, Iowa State Extension Council. And I've been doing that for almost 2 years. I'm just a member of the elected council, one of 9, and we, our mission is kind of to support the agricultural and economic activities in the county, working with youth, with the fair and 4-H, and also with health sciences and helping people with just living a better life. Cedar Valley Regional Food and Farm Network, it's a long name. But with that organization, it's kind of a newer organization. We're tasked with finding new ways to incorporate local foods into the community. So whether that's through school community gardens, trying to get more local food purchased for school menus, more access to local foods at retail stores, farmers markets, just kind of a holistic way of looking at food in the community and how people can get better access to it and provide more opportunities for people to both be supported as farmers and then also for the consumers to help them find it.
You are very active in the community, particularly with people who are food insecure. What was it about that aspect of life that got you involved in doing the things that you've done with the little pantries?
I think from a lot of my lived experiences that I had as a child growing up, So yesterday I stopped and I took some pictures of my neighbor's fruit trees, and they had like apples and pears, and I believe they were plums. And I was thinking, wow, this is how I survived as a child. And I was walking with my own children, and I was thinking, we have all that in the fridge at home, so they don't have to, you know, do the types of things that I did when I was a child, so I wouldn't be hungry. And I think that a large part of the reason why I and how I learned to survive off of what there was to eat outside in the neighborhood was to take some pressure off my grandmother that was raising me.
Tell me about the little pantries that you said. Was this something that you read about happening other places, or was it something that you came up with on your own?
Yeah, so this was back in 2016. I saw an article. I was actually sitting at my brother's condo in Minneapolis at the time, and I read an article about a woman in Arkansas, I believe it was, who had a free food pantry. And I was just thinking, oh my gosh, we need that in the Cedar Valley. So at the time I was living in Cedar Falls, that is much more prideful than Waterloo. So I did some research and I started looking at the schools in our community and the percentage of students that qualify for free or reduced lunch, and then try to strategically place the pantries in places that have known to be places of respect in the community that were near those areas though.
I'm an associate professor and I direct our program in athletic training.
What took you in that direction?
Well, I decided as a junior in high school that I wanted to be an athletic trainer, so I actually went to UNI and did my undergrad in athletic training. And then I did a master's in kinesiology at UW Milwaukee. Came back to this area, as I said, I never would. I was the athletic trainer at Columbus High School in Waterloo for a few years and had the opportunity to go back to UNI and teach athletic training at that point in time.
What is it about athletic training that appealed to you? Why do you like it?
For sure, compassion for others and providing health care, for sure. Working with a population that's predominantly physically active. The variety in the work environment and the patient population that we get to work with in athletic training. You always just want to do more and have a greater impact. In many areas, it's doing more fundraising, giving back in a greater way. It's just continuing to develop that sense of service in my kids that, I mean, truly would be one of the greatest things I could ever accomplish, is inspiring my kids to continue to be involved in organizations of various types. So we do activities through our church directly. This past year, for the first time, we rang the bell for the Salvation Army. The Salvation Army has grown near and dear to my heart, so that is one organization that I'm particularly interested in and have taken time to learn more about, and has actually been a wonderful way that I have been able to bridge my professional life with my interests.
For the last 12 years, I've had my own production company, creatively called Kelsey Hammer Productions. But the name's kind of stuck because it really is a personal thing for me. I take my work with clients very seriously and I get to know them and build relationships. So it's not even about the work we create as much as the relationships we have together. So I feel like the name is appropriate. And I also just really enjoy what I do. I mostly enjoy getting to work with amazing people here in the Cedar Valley and over the Midwest. But particularly, I've met some amazing people here, and I'm just very thankful for the opportunity to keep working with them. I primarily create videos for my clients, and videos that have a lot of impact is always my goal. So I try to create videos that are very engaging, inspiring, and sometimes educational, so that my clients can have videos that actually make a difference. And that's what excites me the most, is doing videos and documentary films that actually make an impact. And I think that bridges well to my work in the community, because I see it going hand in hand. I don't see my work necessarily separate from helping the community. I really like my videos to have an impact and help youth and people doing great things in the community. I worked a lot with the schools, the Waterloo schools, and I currently work with school districts across the Midwest. They're one of my main clients. They're not my only clients, but I like working with schools because I like to see what's going on in the schools, and I like to see people doing innovative work. My goal with Waterloo really was to get the great stories out there, because there's so much negativity often surrounding Waterloo, and from what I've seen, it's just not fair. There are amazing people, and they're doing great things, and diversity in Waterloo to me is a huge strength and something we should celebrate, not something we should hide from or be scared of. So to this day, I'm still pushing to celebrate diversity and get diverse inputs in the work I do, and that's something I'm really passionate about.
I currently serve as the Director of Employee Engagement at the Excel Group.
And why did you want to take that job?
It was kind of a unique transition for me. Prior to this, I was the Assistant Director of the W at Wartburg College. I also was an adjunct professor, and I'm a licensed massage therapist, so I was doing that there as well. And prior to that, I was a head collegiate basketball coach. So it's kind of a complete jump for me. But the opportunity was there. I started off as the executive assistant to the president of the company, and it kind of turned into a different role where I could really utilize my strengths and skills from other positions that I've had. And so it's just really been a good opportunity for me. Yeah, I really just was focusing on utilizing my administrative skills. When I was head college coach at Governor State, I was also an associate athletic director, and just having other director positions, I've just had a lot of administration skills, organization and whatnot. But with all those experiences, it's also allowed me to utilize various creativity and ideas and engagement, and I did a lot of that with my teams, and we did life lessons, and we did community service once a month, and we just did various events that kind of helped motivate and inspire them, and so I found ways that I could do that within the company. I'm very passionate about community service. I currently co-founded Embrace, Celebrating Diversity in the Cedar Valley, and so that's where a lot of my focus and attention goes to nowadays with community service on my own time. We have started a group that came from a strategic planning committee out of Waverly 2 years ago when I first moved here, and that's really just blossomed. It started off as just an outdoor annual event, and it ended up just being myself and Jean Shinkowitz, who was the co-founder as well. And it turned into more than just a once a year outdoor event. We didn't feel like that would justify celebrating and welcoming diversity in the Cedar Valley area. So we're close to making it a 501c, but we're on our way for that and just gaining support locally in the community. But we are really focusing on education and really focusing that on marginalized diversity groups. As we know now, the climate in 2020 is still really racially charged, and there's so much systemic injustice, and obviously that personally affects my life as well as my son's life. And so just wanted to celebrate diversity, and again, we look at all facets of diversity and we welcome that, and we just really want to encourage people to celebrate differences and also to learn about our true history, the good and the bad, and from that learn and make positive change in our communities.
Now you work for
Advanced Heat Treat Corp in Waterloo.
How long have you been there?
2 years.
And you're involved with a number of nonprofits also, correct?
Yep, I'm on the board of directors for the Volunteer Center of Cedar Valley.
How long have you been doing that?
About 2 years.
That's quite a bit that you're involved with.
Yeah. Well, it's something I feel good about, and then just being from Waterloo, I want to help out wherever I can for better better life, better experiences, whether that's, events during normal situations or like I've volunteered with Habitat for Humanity several times. I'll be doing one of those in a couple weeks here, and I like helping. It's fulfilling. I like improving our community in any way. The teamwork that goes into that, and just the feeling of accomplishment too.
What did you do with Habitat for Humanity?
Oh, I've done everything. I've done shingles. I've put up walls. I've helped with drywall. Yeah.
So if somebody asks you, what you do at the Member Trust, how do you describe that? Because I know it's a lot of things. You wear a lot of hats and everything.
Yeah, so that's a good question. And me and my board of trustees really moves the vision of RJ McElroy forward, and it's all about deserving young people. So I am, the liaison between our nonprofit organizations in the community and the board, and really looking for, innovative solutions to solve problems. I think our young people, they're our future, right? And it's an exciting role to be in, to support our nonprofits work and working with young people. And Blackhawk County is one of 12 counties that we serve. So my Leisure, Youth, and Human Services, I have a emphasis in nonprofit management, and I'm a certified nonprofit professional, which is a national credential. And after undergrad, I moved to Seattle and worked for a company. We trained and coached nonprofits in fundraising from individuals. So I've always been, my undergrad is in nonprofit, and then was able to work with organizations all over the country. Coming back to the Cedar Valley was definitely a welcome home. I miss the mountains of the Pacific Northwest, but you can't replace the people who are here.
Some of your nominators, they described you as an active member of the Cedar Valley Nonprofit Anti-Racism Initiative. What drives your passion for that work?
As much as there is for me as a white woman to learn and unlearn both about our country's creation, but how systems that are in place keep inequity in place, and how we can disrupt that. So I'm committed to learning, what is the role, both as a person, as a just individual person, but also as an organization who's committed to supporting young people.
I've always wanted to be in a field of service, but I also, one of the things that was very important for my family, they valued education. And so they've always set the bar high and said, pursue your education as far as you can. I became very passionate about public health just because of seeing what was happening in the world with HIV/AIDS, and I wanted to be really part of some of the solutions in health promotion, health education, and also where I come from, which is Niger, is considered to be one of the poorest countries in the world. And so we have high rates of malaria there. And so I just wanted to do something that would have an impact on health. When I started my MPH, I was funded by the NIH. I was very fortunate to have advisors that really supported the research aspect of public health. And so I was originally trained to be in research, but I felt that there was a disconnect with the research community and practice. And so for me, having that background in public administration, I said, this is, I really, it's important for me to be able to utilize my research skills to inform practice. And so I started looking at positions after my doctorate just everywhere, and I landed here.
So you probably didn't envision leading a county through a global pandemic.
No, not at all. No, no, definitely not.
What's that been like for you?
It's been exciting. It's been hard. It's been insightful, and so I think those are really the three main things that excitement, hardship, and insightful, because you know, the excitement comes from both positive and negative. Positive, this is the opportunity to show the community really the role of public health. But negative because you don't want a pandemic. Like who dreams of having a pandemic? Nobody does. But I think COVID gave us an opportunity to be more visible in the community. Usually public health is seen as the invisible field, and so when there's a pandemic, public health becomes more visible because this is the work we actually do on a day-to-day when we're managing outbreaks that is not as widely publicized.
What is it about photography that you like, that speaks to you? As an art form.
It's an art form, but it also gives me the chance to show other people my eye. It gives me the chance to show them how I see the world through my lens, pretty much. Well, it's important for me to be active in my community because there are a lot of people out there that experience discouragement on a regular basis. And if there's anything that I can do to change that, then that's what I'm here for. I feel like my purpose is to speak love and light into people that need it. There was a lot of time where I felt discouraged, and I knew that I could do better than what I was doing, but I didn't feel like I had the support mentally of myself to push myself further. And after I broke that mold, I was like, you know, there's probably a lot of people that feel like they have that power, but they're either afraid to unleash it or they're discouraged. I need to help them. I know that life is temporary, and I know that while we're here, we're supposed to make a difference, and we're supposed to make an impact. And I believe that mine is to spread love and light. So no matter what I have going on or what I'm going through, as long as I'm walking in my purpose, on purpose, nothing really matters. It was important to me because it was needed in my community. Even though the community didn't know that they needed love and light, once they started to receive it, they were like, this is what I've been missing. I've been missing those words of encouragement. I've been missing someone to look at me and say, hey, you are powerful. You can make something happen too. It's important to me because it's important to them. And what's important to them makes my community better. I have been a mentor since I was in the 11th grade, which is 2010, and I have been pretty much working with youth ever since. I started with kids of disabilities, with intellectual disabilities, then I moved up to at-risk youth, and then I moved up to high school teenagers, and hopefully I can merge over to the adults as well.
Did you think that was important because maybe you didn't have that
Absolutely.
mentorship?
Absolutely. I didn't have many positive role models in my life. I didn't have a mentor. And once I got older and I got my first mentor, I was just like, man, where has this been all my life? Why did I have to get into my 20s to finally realize I needed a coach?
Can you tell me about founding your own law firm?
Sure. Yeah, it was. I had been a lawyer for a few years by then, and it was quite the leap. But luckily, I have I had 2 legal assistants who came with me who really helped with the process. It was still a lot of work and a lot of the unknown, but they certainly made it a lot easier. Well, I always make sure I have at least one pro bono case open that's more of a longer term case. Those tend to be family law related, so we're talking about custody cases and juvenile cases or dissolution or divorce, in other words, divorces. And a lot of pro bono work in a small town just kind of pops up. You might not even know it's pro bono. I mean, you have an idea when somebody comes in and needs a problem solved that you might not bill them for it, but it's the type of thing you do when you practice in small towns, and I think about every lawyer does that kind of thing, I would like to think. But I try to stay connected as best as I can to the area here, and when I see a need, I try to do what I can. My grandmother was a large inspiration for me. I lost my mother when I was 5, and my grandmother was pretty active in my life, even though she didn't live near me. But I watched her in the way she treated people and the way she tried to make a difference in the smallest of ways. For her, it was libraries, literature, and education. Those were areas that were really important to her. I've always valued education, probably a lot because of her. And I've also tried to model myself a bit around her with the way she treats people and gives back to her community.
So you got involved at St. Stephen's. Who was your pastor at that time?
A pastor would have been Father Ken Glazer. Yeah.
He's great.
And he's the one that married us, and I think he baptized a couple of the kids, and so that kind of sowed the seeds of being involved in the community, and then also having that connection with the Boy Scouts, where everywhere you go there's scout leaders around and you have those shared interests, and that's very similar to when I got involved with the Knights of Columbus. It's an international organization and it's very popular in the US, so as a result you always find people that have similar interests, and then from there you kind of get settled and realize how you can help out in the community, and that was something my parents were very, very intentional in exposing myself and 2 brothers on being involved in the community and finding our way to give back. And so it was something that was very instilled in me, and it's now, as I see it, my chance to give back what has been given to me. I have always been involved in the Scouts and volunteer with a number of nonprofits, including the YMCA, Boys and Girls Club, and then just small projects, whether it was the Town 5K or the Martin Luther King Day celebrations. I've always kind of been one to be willing to help out and lend whatever expertise, and it's kind of morphed where I've always had a passion for sound and lights and production. Never enough interest to do it as a vocation, but enough to be able to help people out. So oftentimes I'm asked to set up a sound and video for a conference, or a daddy-daughter dance, do the DJ, and first day of school flag ceremonies, and very much about giving back to the community, and however we can do that, and seem to find a way there.
No, so I'm a district representative for Congresswoman Finkelnauer's congressional staff. So
with your job, so you're in Waterloo. So when the Congresswoman is in Washington, are you're still doing your kind of?
So I'm still in Waterloo. I cover like 5 or 6 other counties outside of Black Hawk. So I'm just doing different stuff and help people with, navigating government agencies and, anything that we can do to help them, whether it's getting Social Security assistance, because tax offices were kind of shut down during the pandemic. We did a lot helping people getting like tax refunds and stuff. Stuff as far as if, a citizen from our district is in another country and need information on, communicating with the embassy, or, different things going on in various countries and like stuff like that.
So it's is it like the boots on the ground?
Yeah. So then we also get a lot of like feedback of stuff like people keeping abreast of what's going on in the community and the different communities that we're working in, right? So we can have a congresswoman. So not only so she's aware of what's going on, but she can also go back to DC and advocate for various things. So
Where does this passion that you have for politics come from?
So when I was younger, me and my grandma watched it. So my grandmother retired around the time that me and a couple of my cousins started school. So we, when our parents were working, this is when they still had half-day kindergarten.
Oh, yeah.
So we were at our grandmother's house, right? And my mother was a teacher as well. My mother just retired as a teacher like 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. So I was always reading. Learning has always been big for me. So me and my grandma would watch the news and read the papers and stuff. And so she was a sheriff's deputy. So, just always been active like that, right? And I had a mentor, David Goodson, and he would always challenge me growing up, like, how am I going to give back, right? Like, what are you going to do to change the community, impact lives? And my personality is pretty aggressive, right? So I knew I love volunteering with kids. I love working with different people and helping in any ways that I can, but it wasn't something I wanted to do as a career, right? And just the more I learned about the political process as I was growing up, I just felt like politics, that was the route for me. Just believing in the democratic process and what can happen, when you organize people around a cause and mobilize people, to create change.
So you own Ninja U, is that right?
Yeah, co-owner, yep.
Co-owner?
Co-owner of Ninja U, yep.
How did that come about?
Well, it all started in my backyard. We started a YouTube and Instagram account called Backyard Ninja Kids. That was born out of my kids kind of being too shy for team sports, combined with their love for fitness and my love for fitness. And they came home doing obstacle courses. And I thought, well, why don't we just build obstacle courses in our backyard? And then 2 years later, the channel kind of grew. We got pretty well known in the ninja community. And 2 years almost to the day from starting Backyard Ninja Kids, we opened up Ninja U. So it all is kind of born out of anything you can turn into an obstacle. So we had anything from tree logs from the neighbor to barrels that we got for free off of Craigslist. We threw up some ropes and trees. Anything you could kind of climb or jump or balance on, we just kind of threw in the backyard. We let the kids kind of control a lot of it, design their own courses, have that fun and freedom. But it was also kind of an outlet both for creativity, but also we wanted to kind of teach our kids how to be a positive influence on social media. So we thought it'd be good to be able to walk with them in that, so they could kind of learn how to cope with being that, how can you spin something to that positive influence.
I just love to be active, so when I can share that passion and share healthy behaviors with littles, but even how they can take that home to families, that was really impactful for me when I was in college, to just really create that. And then the connections with kids is huge. So we're glad we're back in school. I think it's important for people to see that education doesn't stop after a certain grade or a certain level, that you are always continuously learning. And I think that that's powerful for kids, but just for personal growth even. Well, I did teach 1 year of middle school up in Mason City, and then transitioned to the littles. And I think they absorb so much information, and they love to move their bodies. And so you get to teach a variety of aspects of movement and just the engagement piece with kids at such a young age. And you can create those healthy habits.
And then another aspect that you are involved in is the Leader in Me program. What was it about that program that appealed to you?
just being able for kids to really understand that it doesn't matter what age you are, you can be a leader, and everybody has leadership skills no matter what. And just being able to really show those kids how they can shine and spotlight those kids, because there are kids that just, they never see themselves as a leader until you bring it upon them and bring it out of them, and just how it can create a positive dynamic culture within a community.
I grew up on a small farm in Grundy Center, Iowa, and you know, from an early age, so my mom was a teacher, my dad was a farmer, and you know, sort of hard work, giving back was a big piece of what we did, and community as well. So you know, by the time I was in high school, the summers kind of were detasseling, baling hay, and that gave me a pretty good sense early on that was not what I wanted to do. And then was also involved in sports, and then in 4-H, and specifically showing cattle. And I think one of the things about showing cattle that was kind of unique for me is it's an everyday job. If you want to be competitive in that at the county and state fair level, that's just something that's always, every morning you're up, you wash them, you know, you put them under fans to grow their hair out and all those things. So it was an everyday you have to show up. And so I think that was an interesting experience. And then, so I graduated from Grundy Center High School, and then went and actually spent my first 2 years at Hawkeye Community College, and then moved on to UNI. Actually, while I was at UNI, I met who would be my boss and mentor for the first few years of my career. So David Sparks, who had been a longtime advisor in the Cedar Valley.
Yeah.
And so he was actually teaching as an adjunct professor. And so I started interning with him in January of 2009. So he was kind of, you know, the company was about a year and a half old at that point, and gave me sort of a trial by fire right away, you know, client portfolios and client interactions. Originally, I started with him doing investment research. So I would research individual stocks and bonds, and then over time really grew to more of a client-facing role. And I love the research, love the analytical piece, but what I found really gave me energy was working with clients and seeing how all of that research and how all of the work impacted them in their lives.
The Community Foundation of Northeast Iowa has been here for good since 1956. We connect people to the causes they care about, make grants to nonprofit organizations enriching our communities, and provide leadership to Iowa communities to make them stronger, more inclusive places for all people. Join us in Here for Good.